Hello, this video continues from the last video. This would be the part 2, the special features in main buildings of royal palaces from Joseon Dynasty. If you see this picture, you can see that there are very long and wide tree roads that connect the gates and the main building. This is the first feature called Samdo, which means the three ways. This was the road both for the king and ministers who worked for the palace, but separated into three different directions: center, east, and the west. The central road is called Odo, which is, of course, the road which the king uses. But you might wonder which ministers use the rest of the two sides of this road. Munguan, who are the civil officials in charge of government administration, use the eastern road, and Muguan, who were the military officials in charge of national defense, use the western road. The reason for the division between military and government administration is very clear. Because before the Joseon Dynasty was formed, the nation called Goryeo, which is now called Korea by this name, experienced corruption and abuse of power by the military rule that lasted for about 100 years. In order to resolve this situation, a new nation called Joseon Dynasty was established, with its foundation of the Confucius ideologies that focused on the education and social norms which opposed corruption and violence. Therefore, the military officials were only located in the western side, the direction where the sun sets, which is lower than civil officials but a very important position in the monarchy, because the Korean peninsula's geography is susceptible to foreign invasions. What you can see here are the 12 stones standing in vertical line on two sides of Samdo, and these stones are the second feature of this main building, called Pumgeseok. The stones are engraved with the word called Pum, which symbolizes the ranking of ministers and officials who worked for the palace. These ranking stones were first introduced during the King Jeongjo's reign to prevent the insulting the order of ranks. Each stone engraves the number in Chinese characters to represent the 18 classes of rankings of employees. Each side starts with 정일품, the first and highest position in the front, and ends with 정구품, the ninth and lowest position in the last. The higher the position is, the closer is from the main building. Officials in the position above 정삼품, the third position, are called 당상관, and they are the ones who could discuss the political affairs with the king. But officials lower than the third position are called 당하관, who assists and works for kings and the officials who work inside the palaces. The third feature of the main building is Pakhsan. These are stones which make up the floor of the royal court in front of the main building. Walking on this floor is very, very uncomfortable because the stones are extremely bumpy. But there were three functions of Pakhsan that can explain the reason for its bumpiness. The first function is reflection. If the stones were made flat, they can reflect the sunlight in only one direction. In this case, the intense brightness of sunlight can even hurt the eyes. But because of the bumpiness, Pakhsan reflects the sunlight in many directions and protects the eyes of both officials and the king. The second function is the natural aqueduct. Korean peninsula has a heavy rainy season called Changma during the summertime. It was important to control the waterways to prevent the flooding of the palace. But the chasms between the rocks on this floor and the slightly tilted slope of this floor became the natural waterways, and water could flow down straight to the small river or aqueducts located outside the palace. The last function is keeping the politeness. Almost every official had to mind the gap with their heads down because the stone floor was very bumpy and easy to get tripped, and the tires they wore decreased their mobility. Because of this, there is a theory that Pakhsan prevents the minister making mistakes during important national events by making them be aware of their own attitudes while making their ways on Pakhsan. The fourth and the last feature is Cha-il Gori. This is the ring you can see on Pakhsan when you were walking by the three roads. You would have wondered what these iron rings were used for. But the answer is in its name. The word Cha-il means to block the sun, and Gori means the ring in Korean. Yes, this is the ring used to set up a tent for the officials getting important announcement from the king during the bad weathers. Using a big tent with ropes tied to chailgori, the officials are protected from the bad weather and focus on the important announcements much more conveniently. But the rings are only located at the front of the royal court, and this means that the tent could not cover the officials who are not at the higher positions. Usually, the officials above Jeong-ipum, the second highest position, could receive the benefits of this tent. This might serve as the evidence for the hierarchical nature presented in the palaces of the Joseon Dynasty. This time, we covered a pretty long part in discussing the main building of the Joseon Dynasty Palace. I hope this can be a good chance for you to know more about Korean history and culture behind these heritages. Thank you for watching my video.